It is lovely to see how a lot of people are enjoying Rakugo, some calling it the best of the season, which it easily is by the way, and some calling it the best anime of the decade, which is, well, a bit excessive, but good for you. However, what is inherently interesting is not that Rakugo is great, but how it is great. You see, the ways of how Rakugo approaches its narrative is astoundingly traditional, untainted and fundamental. A lot of writers, creators, artists, whatever you want to call them, seem to have forgotten that no matter how beautiful or immense the construction, a weak fundament will always make it crumble soon enough. The uncorrupted fundament I am implying Rakugo is using are the same elements every writer should strive to master. Exciting and intriguing stories, layered and living characters, detailed and inviting settings. They are the fundamentals, they are the basics of the basics, and yet they have been proven hard to achieve time and time again. If you know anything about me, then you might know that I do not subscribe to the idea that all new anime sucks. All ages has both good and bad anime, but it seems that the trend of today is that every writer wants to be so fucking clever. So much anime today wants to be deconstructive, satiric, self-aware, larger than life, genre-bending, filled with twists, turns, and shocks. And that would be terrific if they could at least try to make their fundamentals sturdy. Rakugo won't have any of that. It is simple and clean. It invites you into a world, presents you to a couple of characters, offers you a premise, and lets the story flow. Each plot point is not chosen with ulterior motives, like what would surprise our audience the most here, or maybe it's time to do something exciting. We haven't had a climax for quite some time now. The plot points follow the characters, and the story goes where they go. In that sense, Rakugo is basic storytelling 101, but done to an A+. The course is well known, but the result demands abilities to achieve. The facetious irony lies in the fact that by focusing solely on the fundamentals, Rakugo achieves so much more than what most other anime directly strives for. Someone devoted a lot of time and care into the creation of this story to the point they would tell an earnest story, as if it was real. The fact that it is regarded by many as the best anime of the 2016 winter season is like a delicate sucker punch to most other current shows, whispering instructions about how to tell a story properly. It reminds us that there was a time before now, but that is not the only place wherein Rakugo reminds us of the past. The first episode, about an ex-prisoner named Yotaru who seeks out a Rakugo master, is a mere set point for a stream of episodes following our two male protagonists in a flashback. The show is telling us that the story of importance here lies in the past. But it is not all romanticized poetry. Rakugo is clever and is also using the flashback for technical purposes. The core story is close to your typical slice of life structure, where we are essentially following our protagonists in their daily lives as they evolve and grow. But because of the first episode already revealing that one of them are going to die, the audience is on permanent watch for any clue or hint. The show forces us to take extra notice of every little scene, no matter how insignificant they may seem, because we know of the inevitable outcome. It's bittersweet when the characters grow closer, because we know something or someone is bound to tear them apart. The show comes off as mercilessly realistic, which will effectively throw some emotional hits at the immersed viewer. I'm glad I watch this on a weekly basis, because I can only imagine how hard it must be to watch this in one go. The characters grow right in front of our eyes, but it's so seamlessly it's almost scary. In one episode, our main friends will be sharing heartfelt, warm moments together, and in the next, they will be different places in their lives. It's dramatic and it's heavy, but it's also live and it's also real. Intimate moments with a woman you were attracted to can feel so unproportioned, so epic, so important to your existence, but time passes relentlessly, and soon enough, even that moment may have found itself a place in your picture book, hidden away with all the other moments you'll never experience again. Yeah, this is not your everyday, everything that has ever happened to me has made me who I am kind of story. It's a tragedy, a dark cloud, but with silver linings nonetheless, and many of them, because that is life too. The atmosphere in Rakugo is very mellow, very smooth, and that ties in with how it displays its culture. We've all experienced anime or films where you could feel tempted to use the words culture porn. Like, we get it, the setting is in Paris, but does that mean that every shot have to have the Eiffel Tower in the background? Almost every scene has something that's unique to the period, whether it's the location, surroundings, or habits by the characters. You feel enveloped in its charming earnestness. I especially liked how the show decided to be ambiguous as to whether or not the geisha Mio was actually having intercourse with her customers or not, which is a fine parallel to the debate about whether or not geisha should be viewed as prostitutes. In fact, while Bon is definitely the star of the show, I think Mio ended up being my favorite, simply because of her presence on screen. Every time she was on, whether it was as the superior, sensual, or enigmatic femme fatale, the romanticized, caring, compassionate lover, or the tragic, masochistic, unstable victim, she had me glued to the screen. Now, that is not to say that a character is, for a lack of a better term, well written. The show's way of dedicating so much development to the male leads while clearly antagonizing the female and at times using her as a plot device can come off as a bit jarring. But what can you do? She stole every scene she was in. The show also presents a duality between Bon and Shin that's executed nicely. Lesser writers would probably have the two of them just learn a bit from each other, but Rakugo is more about how they affect one another. Look at this, where the camera is on Shin for 3 seconds, showing him carelessly sleeping. Then it pans over to hold again 3 seconds on Bon, who looks as apprehensive as ever. The show is almost a compilation of shots like these that subtly drifts through the narrative, carrying it along. I don't think the show necessarily did all it could to show the beauty and appeal of Rakugo to a broad audience. Within the medium of animation, you can do everything you want. You can invite the audience into the minds of the storytellers, but the show insisted on quote-unquote just showing the performers sit on their laps performing, which I would presume could straight up come off as boring to some. However, let the record show that I respect the decision to not taint the performances with superficial animation. It's a bold decision, and I'm certain viewers who are intrigued by Rakugo would appreciate it. I just know that I dozed off during some of the Rakugo scenes, even if some of them could bring even a slowpoke like me into the atmosphere. There's also a vagueness surrounding the show as to how the narrative works. The flashback begins with Bon in real time starting the story, which suggests that the flashback reflects the way Bon remembers it. But then you'll see scenes where Bon wasn't even present, which invites to speculation as to exactly how the flashback works. Is it told through the memories of Bon? Maybe the narrative is taking some liberty and switches between the story as told by Bon and just flat out showing us what happens. It's really vague, and I would like to hear you guys' thoughts on it. I honestly really like this one. If I can be completely blunt, then I will probably personally always prefer stories with a bit more spectacle to them. Rakugo stayed subtle all the way through and never had one of those moments that punched me in the gut, leaving me speechless or in tears, even if I did care about the narrative and its characters. Nonetheless, Shouwa and Genroku era lover suicide through Rakugo is a beautiful and dramatic tale about friendship, love, and passion. Not a lot of anime comes in this shape or size, so make sure to check it out. Okay, so this part is for all of you who wants to debate the ending of the flashback. One of the main cruxes of the show is the question about how Konatsu's parents ended up dying. And I was, least to say, surprised at how theatrical the final scene with the three of them turned out to be. With his best friend and said friend's daughter sleeping a few rooms across them, Bon kisses the woman he wanted to get back with Shin. Kyo seemingly out of nowhere wants to commit double suicide, which seems weird when you think about how she'd been waiting for Bon for 5 years. So the love of your life finally shows up, he actually kisses you, and now you want to kill yourself? Next, we get this Hollywood-style spectacle where Kyo falls from the balcony, Shin jumps after her, and Bon grabs Shin. Shin, solidifying the fact that he doesn't give a shit about his daughter, just tells Bon to let go. I don't know, guys, this ending just doesn't sit well with me. I would appreciate for you to join the debate with your thoughts on the matter. Also, it was a bit weird watching Bon being harsh on Kotaro, saying stuff like,
小夏さん、お前さんも東京へ行きますからね。聞き分けなさい。
when you know he did this to her mother before.
一人で生きると、あんなに心に決めていたのに。
Oh well, see ya.